Hi, this is Luigi Subtil. I play Sean Archer on Chicago Med, and you're listening to Men and Family Chats.
Hey guys, welcome back to FFC. I'm Maureen.
And I'm Jeanette.
And we are back with our second to last Chicago podcast. And I know we've said this.
Sad.
I know we've said this every week for like the last 3 or 4 recordings. We don't know when it's coming back, which is why it seems particularly hard for me to go to near the end of this season. I don't know what I'm going to do. Well, no, I'm going to keep going to youth group on Wednesday nights, but I don't know what I'm going to do with my time when I don't have this going on. But we are starting with Chicago PD again, as we will for the next one, too. But we dug into my guy here a little bit. And I know that Jeanette takes issue with the fact that Dante can sometimes be my favorite over Adam Ruzek, but Dante's my guy. So
if I didn't have my headphones on, I'd plug my ears right now. So I didn't hear that being said.
Do love Ruzek, but Dante is pretty amazing.
I just want to know, and I think I said this in the group chat, is there beef between Benjamin and Patty? Because why can they not be in an episode together for the most part? Like, what's happening?
Maybe they realize that they're the top 2 favorites. So they have this idea that, well, we got to spread them out.
Give us what we want. Like, put them both together. Why can they not interact together? It's weird.
But I find that even with Kevin, like Kevin's there, but he didn't have much of a role. Like I feel like Chicago PD is the one in the Chicago universe where they can't really focus on more than one character at a time. They'll have others in there, but they will not focus on more than one at a time, which is fine. But then you don't, like Haley and Dante's, who we've gotten the last 2 weeks with a little bit of Hank thrown in there. We barely got any Kevin. We barely got any Kim. We barely got any Adam.
Yeah.
But I noticed that with Adam, Kevin, and Dante specifically, those 3, if one has the lead, the other one is not there.
Too much hotness.
That's exactly what I think
we cannot have all 3 of those men on our screen.
And it has, if you notice, it was Kevin's heavy storyline, and then it was Adam's, and then it went back to Kevin, and then it was Dante and Haley, and then it was Dante, and then next week Kevin is apparently going to feature in some heavy way, and we'll talk about that later. But I do like that they do cycle through them at least.
I guess I just wish I want the ensemble because it used to be.
I miss that.
I kind of hate that they don't do that anymore. But all in all, great episode though. So yes. I mean, I won't complain. I mean, Dante's getting a little backstory on him is something I think we've been wanting, even though this backstory wasn't. I mean, I feel like it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. Like, yeah, it was a little darker than I expected, I think.
See, I thought the opposite. I thought, because I know Dante and I know why he's my favorite. And it started with that big cross on his back in the Bible verse he kept up in his locker. So like, I had a feling, no, this is not going to be the way we think it is. Although the entire episode, I was freaking out. Like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I was afraid. I thought he had a much darker past. I mean, like by this episode, I thought he had a much darker past. And that, it turned out okay. But I mean, we knew all along his community's been giving him a hard time about being a cop. Like, we already knew that part. I mean, like, which I think that's probably typical. I feel like Kevin gets the same treatment. I think sometimes in these like high crime areas, if you're there, I mean, they don't expect you to grow up and be a cop. It's not really respected like it is in other places. So.
But I think with Dante, the difference is what his backstory is or what people believe of his backstory. And now he's a cop. They see it as almost like he's being traitorous, but also you don't deserve to have what you have right now. We know who you really are.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Mia kind of surprised me. I think I get her frustration, but I really thought she would have moved past it and seen that he had no choice. This was the right thing to do. I thought she would have been okay by now with everything.
I did not like her about this episode.
I didn't really either. It upset me that she was so just, I don't know, awful to him. I mean, for the most part, like
he didn't force her brother to commit crime.
Right.
He chose to commit crime. It's like you think that just because she's your brother, he shouldn't have any consequences. No, there are consequences. If it wouldn't have been Dante, it would have been someone else. And she should have been thankful it was Dante who handled that, or it would have been a lot worse for him, most likely. The only reason, if I remember the story correctly, the only reason that her brother didn't get a longer sentence and didn't get in as much trouble is because Dante was there advocating for him. So for her to continue to punish Dante over and over again and you could tell that when Dante walked up to her, he was just so sad that the relationship was what it was.
Yeah.
And it made me sad. And I don't think he deserved it. And I didn't like it. So I was mad at her the entire episode.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. And I didn't like, I don't know. I mean, this guy won. I mean, it was clear like that interaction that they knew each other and, you know, they all knew that he was involved with him in some way. I definitely didn't expect it to be the involvement that it turned out to, like, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
It was kind of shocking to think that he was sort of his enforcer or whatever he was. Like, that was, that's when I started thinking, like, oh my God, Dante, what have you done in the past? You know, I was like, oh my gosh.
Although I do want to say that Jeanette did come into our chat and say, this is a point when she thought Dante was much darker than he was. And she came into our chat and said, Amanda, you're going to have a bigger crush on Dante than before. And I said, oh, then what am I going to feel? And you said, no, you like green flags. We like red flags.
I mean, look, this makes me sound crazy when I say stuff like this. It's embarrassing. When he was acting like he was going to waterboard the guy, like, I didn't want him to, obviously, because that's terrible.
She says with a big grin on her face.
But there was something, I like the aggressiveness of his, like, I don't know. I can't even explain this without sounding like a
I'm enjoying watching you try, though.
Look, here's the thing. I know for a fact that there are listeners out there that understand. Yes, I'm not the only one.
No,
I'm not the only one. Otherwise, they wouldn't do this stuff. I mean, he gave me very much Hank vibes in that scene. And I was like, my own mother, who has a big crush on Hank Boyd, she would probably understand what I'm saying right now. Like mother, like daughter. If she listens to this, she's going to be like, Jeanette, why'd you say that?
Because it's true.
It's true. It's true. It's true.
And I thought that they did a really good job because I struggled to figure out, like, the whole time I wanted so much to know what it was, but they wrote this story in such a way that they did keep it a surprise for us. Like, we were and even towards the very end, I thought, oh no, did he really do that? Even though I know Dante, I know why I love him. I know Dante, and I still was able to believe that he did something. So the whole episode was a surprise to me. Yeah, I did too, until he said something to Hank, and then I felt guilty and ashamed that I had put that on him.
I thought maybe he did it because he didn't really have much of a choice. Like, I didn't think he did it because he enjoyed it or anything. Like,
well, no, he was 14 when he stopped being his enforcer. Yeah. And the only reason he did it was to protect his mom. So you would imagine that if his mom was the threat, I will hurt your mom if you don't do this, that he could have gotten this 14-year-old boy to do almost anything.
Yeah.
And even Mia said that to him, right? Didn't she say he's the one who should be? I don't remember how she put it, but I wanted to remember. I just didn't.
I don't know. I blocked out a lot of, because I just didn't like the interaction with her. So I think I blocked out a little bit of her scenes. So if I'm being honest.
Well, it was that scene in the car when she said that she wanted him to be the one to find her, because he said he hated him for it. But I could not remember what she said to him. And he said, well, no, he said he was sorry. But I don't remember I only remember Dante's lines. I don't remember anything she said.
I don't remember either. So I'm zero help here. Zero. Hopefully it wasn't that important, right?
Well, maybe not.
But I mean, like, this whole time, like, I mean, the whole reason that we first see Mia is because she's the one that's let Dante know about this note. And I mean, she wanted him to find him. She wanted all of this. So, I mean, I kind of had a feeling going through that she had more to do with his death, or she was somehow more involved in this than she was letting on. I think I knew there had to be something that was going on.
Did you think that right away from their first interaction?
Not right away, but maybe a little bit, because like when he got the note or whatever, it just felt like, where did that cut? Like, it felt kind of out of nowhere, and like there was no one else around. I don't know. I just had a little bit of a feeling. Now, I didn't think it was exactly like it played out, but I just had a feeling there had to be something more to her with this.
I was very slow with this. I didn't pick up on it until they were in that stash house when they found that she texted. That was the first time I was like, oh,
because I think I knew that they were going to be ending this whole like Dante Mia situation. And I thought, well, this is going to be another way to just kind of like figure out how to get her out of here. I don't know.
Yeah. And I just now remembered that the way we left it before is she went undercover for them before. She got the crap kicked out of her, right? That guy met her in the bathroom. And no, she got beat up.
Did he? Okay, I couldn't remember if he did or if he just threatened her and
he threatened to kill her, I think, but he beat her up in the bathroom.
I thought Dante saved her, which is what happened, because he left or something. I don't remember. Yeah, you might be right.
Because when they're sitting, I remember now that when he went to talk to her at night, she was sitting in her driveway, her eye was swollen shut. And so this is even a bigger deal now that I'm realizing just at this moment how big of a deal it was for her to go do it again.
Yeah.
And I didn't really think about that. But I mean, Dante, he finds the body in the trunk. He downplays his involvement with Vaughn to the team because, and we saw this in the preview, if they know what I did, I lose my job. And as we said, there is no better person you could possibly work for with having a past than Hank Voight and the intelligence team, because they've all done something bad, every one of them. And that moment, I actually had to rewind it because I didn't understand how it played out at first. But when they first arrived at the stash house and Hank is starting to tell her what to do, and Dante goes, I'll take the basement, and just walks in front of him, and the whole team just stops. Is like, what just happened right there?
Yeah. And then even when he took the photo, like, I mean, you could tell, like, was it Haley that walked out there?
Yep. And I think that's why she walked down there, because she could tell something was up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he was very, like, bold in, like, his cover up here, you know? And I mean, I don't know. This is when I thought it was really bad. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what is going on?
Like, are you still working for this guy?
Yeah.
I mean, it was, but he didn't actually do anything. So it wasn't as bad as it is in his head. But like we'll talk about later, he thinks he deserved it all.
He did do stuff. He just didn't do like the waterboard. Like he didn't do like the things he's being accused of. I mean, I think probably to Dante and to his conscience, he did do really terrible things. And
exactly.
So, yeah.
And I love that I don't see a romantic connection between Haley and Dante. I almost see it like a big sister looking out for a little brother kind of thing, like more of a friendship. So I love how that relationship has been played out. We saw it last week when Dante was the first one to notice something was up. And we see it this week when Haley brings it up to Hank that clearly something is wrong with Dante. Clearly something's going on there. She knows it. And I love that she says, I know you're new here, which at first I was like, is he new here? Like, it doesn't feel like he's as new as they made it sound, but I guess he is. This is really his first year on the team. And I forgot he'd only been there for that long. But she said, I know you're new here, but I have your back. We all do. And she knew. And even Hank, when he said, nope, not here. We're not talking about it here. You're going to keep your mouth shut and we're not going to let anybody else know. And I love seeing them make those bonds with the other team members, because these people, they do bad things sometimes. It's almost always for the right reason, but they do bad things. And I love watching them firm up their relationships with each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, even when they do the bad, like, I mean, they've all, like she said, they have each other's back. They all know the things that Hank's done, and not one of them would turn him in for any of it. That's just not how it works. Like,
although I don't think Dante does. Dante never knew that side of Hank.
Does make me wonder what Dante would think if he did know that side of Hank.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, like, Dante is our new Jay, whether you want to, I mean, and Jay, up until probably his last season, though, Jay was always very against like these methods as well.
Yep.
Antonio was too, unless it involved children, and then he always made the exception. But like, I feel like those two, like, and so Dante's now our moral compass again, the one that like wouldn't accept that, which, not that we do that anymore, which I kind of miss. I mean, not that that's like, but I mean, the grittiness, I feel like sometimes we miss the grittiness of like the police work. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, like, so they find at the stash house, that's where they find out that Loop is Mia. But when they arrested him, I loved watching, because was it last week we saw Hank be violent and we saw that return and we were like, yes,
it was.
But then this week he looked at Navarro and he's like, you don't want to make an enemy, Amy. I'm like, please make an enemy. Please make an enemy. And I've never actually watched a show and like, please be violent. Please be. But with Hank, like, it's Hank.
Well, see, maybe you would have liked seeing Dante waterboard someone then.
I would not have liked that. That would have made me so sad. I was actually feeling really, really anxious that he was going to do something. And I was like, no, don't do that. And my daughter was like, what? Like, this is not why I like him. So I was really sad.
These are not good, Nora, not good. Right.
But what I thought was really interesting was when Hank stood outside the door, obviously, he lures Navarro's buddy, he lures him to this school, which it took me a minute to understand that that's where all of his punishments took place and where the enforcing took place. Yeah. I'm slow sometimes. And so it took me like the second rewatch to be like, oh, but Hank stood outside the door watching this play out. He had no intention of stopping him from doing anything, but I think he wanted to see, okay, how far will Dante take this? I need to know what he's capable of. So I'm going to let him do it. I'm going to let him play this out. He only walked in when Dante finished. Yeah. That was when he chose to walk in there.
Yeah.
But like I said, it it puts a whole different spin on what Mia did, remembering that she was beat up the last time she went undercover, that she did it again. And it was dangerous because this guy, she knew at this point, he murdered somebody. He used me to murder him. So he knows that I know things about him that I can't know. Yeah. And then she still goes in there again. And now it makes more sense why they jumped the gun. Because when they're like, get in there, I thought, why? Well, I don't understand why they're going in there, but now it makes sense. So my entire outline is like, I had to scratch it because
I think I'd forgotten that too, if I'm being honest. So that's cool.
Because they did jump in there pretty fast, right? Like they didn't let it get very far.
Yeah. Yeah. This episode left me a little confused here and there, if I'm being honest. I'm not always confused by PD, but sometimes I need to stop trying to watch it live. Because when I watch it live, I think it's too late.
And then you can't rewind it either.
Although I'm going to watch this week live because I need to know what's going to happen.
I have to preach this week, so I can't even. Sometimes I'm like, I'm not going to be there tonight, but I have to preach on Wednesday, so I can't be home for it.
How am I going to not tell you about it? Okay,
don't.
I won't.
But I'm telling you what, everybody else better be watching it, or you're going to be harassed again. So
it's fine. I have no problem ignoring you if I need to, so it's not a big deal.
And this is also where this dude, although I kept forgetting his name because I would forget to associate with him because all I could think is David Navarro, who is a musician. Right. So that's all I could think of when I saw this guy. But Navarro is the one who spills the beans of what Dante did, because Mia said earlier in the episode, I'm not going to tell your cop family. I'm not going to tell your team. But Navarro did. And even this is what threw me, because even Dante looked confused when Navarro was saying it. So I'm wondering if maybe he didn't realize that was the perception in the community, that this is what he did. Because even after this guy gets him to go to the school and he tackles him and he's saying, you did this to Pedro, I know you did. The look of revelation on Dante's face, because he wasn't going to take him to that back room. But I don't think that Dante knew this was the perception of him.
Yeah, maybe not.
Navarro said it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I didn't even think about that though. But I did notice that he looked confused as too, but I never really thought. I was like, oh, why are you so confused? I mean, but yeah, maybe he didn't realize that that's what everyone's saying about it.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, obviously he gets what he needs and he's not actually going to waterboard him, but I was so nervous the whole time that he was actually going to do it. Well, I was so worried he was going to revert to violence that I actually was yelling at the screen, don't do it. But you could see right near the end that he truly didn't want to do it. He did not want to waterboard this guy. Mm-hmm. I think he was hoping to just be convinced enough, but I do think he would have done it to sort of maintain his cover, to get the information he needed. I don't think he would have liked it. I don't think he would have wanted to. And I think he was a little bit mad that it looked like he was going to have to.
Yeah. And I think that's why in my head, I was thinking that maybe he did do this stuff, but it was out of necessity, because he had me convinced that he was getting ready to do it.
Yes.
He did.
Right up until the very end, I thought he did it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's like you said earlier. I mean, I think Hank didn't know either. So Hank is trying to figure out, like, how far exactly are we going to take this thing, But I really, probably my favorite thing about the episode was the conversation that happened between Dante and Hank, and the way that, like, Dante was able to, like, tell him everything, but explain to him, like, no, I never waterboarded anybody, but I mean, he explained that he did do things he wasn't proud of, and that he felt guilty for that.
Even the way he said it to Hank, though, he said, do you really think I killed that man?
Yeah.
And that's where I felt guilty, because
he was talking to you, Maureen. Did you really think I did that?
Yes, I'm sorry.
I mean, I did too, so it's okay. It's okay. But I mean, he admitted that he had been waterboarded, which was like, really.
No, Hank found that out.
Oh yeah,
he said I didn't do it, and Hank said you were waterboarded, and he just stared at him.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, that's when he admitted it, because that's when he was saying, like, he felt like he deserved it, which that's a terrible thing too, to just feel like you, like, deserve this torture for the things that you've done.
My poor Dante. He just you could tell he carries that with him every time he steps out into his community. Every time he steps out to do police work, you could tell that he feels like he's making up for something. It was like what Gallo said in Fire a couple weeks ago when he saved that person. It was the first time he felt like he had redeemed the death of his family. And this is everything Dante does. Is like he's trying to redeem who he was before, the things he did before.
Yeah. That's sad, isn't it?
That's what Hank says, so you really do believe in all this stuff, because they're standing outside a church, which I think it's interesting that I don't think Dante told Hank where he was. But Hank texted him when he was inside the church and was already outside waiting for him. Because Hank understood him enough to know, okay, so you must not have done this. This must not be who you are. So you're going to repent for your actions in some way. Right. And Dante says, yeah. But I love that he's like, wait, so I'm not fired? And then Hank looked around and smiled and said, I'll see you tomorrow. Like,
yeah. It's like, no, trust me. Of all the things. I mean, but one of the biggest things, okay, so the preview next week. One of the main issues, we only see Adam like one time. But this is like his story. So we know like that they're preparing for like some major stuff. And I watched this preview too many times, Maureen.
I only watched it once.
Many times. Because I had to figure out like who that was laying on the ground after like the blast occurs. It is in fact Kevin.
Yes.
Because I was worried. I mean, and not that, is it bad that gave me like a little sense of relief? I'm so sorry, Kevin. Like I don't want it to be him either, but I really thought it.
Adam has also a daughter and potentially basically a wife. So,
but then it could also be worse. Like, where is Adam though?
Still undercover,
might be worse,
I think.
wherever he is. Yeah. So whatever happens to him might be worse. This may not even. They may be like just throwing this out there, and this is like the least of our worries. Kevin's going to hop right back up after the explosion and be just fine.
But I think that they were trying to hide that it was Kevin, and I think that's why they tried to get just the top of his neck collar, but they couldn't. We could see Kevin's hair there.
It's not even just that. If you watch the scene before, like you can see that like Adam is wearing short sleeves. Well, you can see the people running towards that building.
I don't remember seeing Adam before that.
It's two unknowns. No, that's what it is. There's two unknowns. I took it back and froze frames and stuff. Okay. Running.
You did this last year too at the finale. I remember you tried to analyze who was next to the blown up truck.
Whether it was Adam or Jay, it's always Adam that gives me stress here. But no, like, so there's two unknowns, but that guy has on short sleeves and then Kevin has on the long sleeves. So like you see that's Kevin's outfit, the scene or the frame before the explosion. And so you can see the outfit laying there. It is Kevin, in fact. Like, I mean, I have no doubt in my mind. I remember the
outfit. I saw his head.
It's super fast.
And that was the only reason I knew it was Kevin was because I could see his hair.
Because you can see like from the neck down laying there. And you can see he's got on like a long, I mean, it's Kevin.
Yeah. Kevin. And I think that the clue that we're given this week is when he comes in and Hank said, you should be sleeping. So you know that Adam is working late nights when you're working in the dark, you're working because you want to hide something. So he's doing something all night long in preparation for whatever this is coming up this week.
Stressed.
Yes, it is.
Because I just feel like there's a lot to happen in the episode. So, which means probably the end of the episode is going to be a cliffhanger. Like I don't think there's time to resolve an entire story and not leave us with a cliffhanger.
Well, and Chicago likes to lead their seasons like that.
I know they do.
Because it wasn't even the midway finale. It also left on a cliffhanger too, didn't it?
Yeah.
So it's just
they could be kind to us this time, since it might be like a long time before we find out.
No, I think they already knew it was going to be renewed, and they didn't know maybe they did know writer's strike was coming, but the writer's strike wasn't there. So I think they wrote the cliffhanger knowing, okay, we're renewed. We can do this.
Well, it's stressful.
Well, on that note, with the explosion and fire happening, let's jump into fire. Let's dig in there. And I think, as we suspected, cover wasn't down for long, even though it was it happened almost. It's so funny when this stuff happens because two things we said last week happened this week. And so we were right about what was going to happen there.
Yeah. I mean, this whole Carver storyline, I feel like it was the biggest part of the episode that kept me like super nervous the whole time, because it was so, like you said, so back and forth and like what's happening. Because when they first bailed him out, they're clear, like they're like, oh, it's going to be fine. Like there's going to be a little investigation, but like they're not concerned with like what's going to happen, because clearly he was just defending Stella. Like we said, there should be nothing more to this story. But there's like, I mean, obviously it does turn into like a huge deal. And the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, wait, what? Like they want to suspend him. They want like, I don't know. It was a huge thing. And Carver doesn't, I don't think, help himself sometimes. No. Like when he storms into like the head chief's office to talk about, like, we get it, but like you're not really making your case by coming in there all hot-headed like you were.
But he was relatively calm. The worst thing he did
but
was he said, even your crazy assistant. That was the worst thing he did when he said it. When he went in there.
I know. But I mean, like I brought up last week, I mean, they know about all his bar fights. That doesn't look good for him.
I totally forgot about those until you mentioned it too.
Yeah, he's got to get it under control. One thing though, I had forgotten about, like, I mean, I remembered about the bar fights and stuff. I forgot about the bridge incident.
Me too.
And at first I thought, like, I don't know, I thought maybe Emma had like come back, like somehow Emma was still involving, like, I don't know, was making this worse. I don't know. That's what I thought anyways.
She kind of did.
I mean, she did initially with his write-up or whatever. But I liked how he also like told him like that he believed in like what they do, and he told like a backstory of like him, you know, reporting some sort of incident before, and like, you know, how he trusted in like their investigations and doing what's right. And he said, you know, even like when he's done things that are questionable, he always does them for the right reasons because they're the right thing. And I think that's that's one of the things that I think makes me like Carver. Yeah. In that even when we did meet him early on, and I've kind of been a Carver fan from the beginning, that even when he was rough around the edges, I think I felt that. I felt like there was something inside of him that was still good, even if he wasn't always doing good things. Yeah. So I don't know. I think we still got this whole like potential thing with him and Stella, because Stella which the thing is, Stella would have gone to bat for anyone on her team. I'm not saying she would have, but I think because we know there's sexual tension, like obviously I'm reading into it every time she does something. But she like even went to Shep, which I'm not sure if I would have wanted to go anywhere. I
thought that was going to be a mistake.
Yeah. But, you know, that's just who I'm glad that it wasn't, because I'm glad that it got to show, like, Carver praised her for that's who she is, in the trying to help people and trying to, like, you know, even when other people probably wouldn't go that extra mile. I mean, she always does. And so, and I mean, this Shep guy, he had issues. So I'm also happy the fact this man's getting some help. And he's getting like what he needs, because I mean, he didn't seem like he just needs the help. Maybe he's not a bad guy. Maybe he's, you know, they can figure it out. And so I think that's happy for that. But yes, I was a little concerned that she was going to get herself in a mess. Yeah.
Well, even in the last episode, they said that when he's on his meds, he's great. He's fantastic. It's when he's off his meds. So he does need to find some way to maintain the medical regime. And to do that, it requires a normal, stable living environment. And so when what I liked about this part of the episode was that Stella went there to get him to drop the charges. She didn't even bring it up to him when she went there, because she saw how bad he was. And just that she said, I promise you I'm going to come back. He dropped the charges because she said that to him. He dropped the charges because she said, I care for you and I'm going to make this right for you. So he didn't even drop him because she said it. Yeah. Yeah. We got to watch this, like, of course we're watching all this Carver mess unfold, and like everyone else is getting to find out about everything because of their little group text that they almost everyone is a part of. Not everyone. Poor Cap. Poor Cap. Look at his poor little face when he was like, wait, you guys are in a group text without me? Like, even Tony, his best buddy, was like he wanted him not to be a part of it either. I felt so bad for him. I love how he found out, because at first he was just confused how everybody knew for him. But then when they're all at the table and everybody in the firehouse's phone goes off except for his, like, so sad. And they're like, but you're on there. But once he got added, which, you know, it was Ritter, right? That added him. Because Ritter's just sitting there. Yeah. He's just a good guy like that, you know. That would be me. You guys know that would be me, because I'm like the one that would be like, okay, I'll add you, you know. And it was Gallo who was like, that's it, I'm taking him off.
Like all of his inappropriate like memes and texts that come through, it's like, okay, now I get it.
Yes. But it was when he would take him off, because obviously they didn't want to be bombarded by this. Like my daughter, she's very proud of how many times she will text a single person. Like, no, that's not, stop doing that. Nobody enjoys that. She said, my record was 34. Now I just did it 100 times. Like,
in a row?
Yes. Like, what are you texting? Just emojis. Stop it. Nobody likes that. Don't do that anymore.
Like, I don't know, man. These kids might like it, actually. They might.
I don't want her to be that kid.
See, my kid will just silence you. Like
that's what I do.
The group text for the 5th grade, the one that had the drama going on the school told us about. When I went to check Elena's, she had it silent. She's like, they talk way too much, Mom. Cool. You are my girl. She's like, But she didn't want to remove herself because she's like, I didn't want them to know that I like didn't want to be in there. I was like, okay, I get it. Like she's trying to put up appearances, but she's like, because then they'll ask me why I left and it'll be a whole thing. I'm like, okay. So she just puts it on mute and just rolls on with her day.
Well, and it's even worse doing what they did because Gala removed the mystery number. And that was when Bowden was like, hey guys, I'm not getting those text messages anymore.
And poor Bowden, he seemed really sad. Like he was like, hey, I'm not getting messages anymore.
But it's funny because he never said anything one way or the other, but what he liked was the stuff Cap was sending. That's what he liked.
They need to just text each other, right?
And I love how it happened when Ritter and Gallo were trying to figure out how to do this. And like, let's just call the number. And Violet's like, that's smart. And Violet just takes over and calls him because Ritter and Gallo are both too afraid to do anything. So Violet just steps in there.
She's like, I'm not worried about it. Yeah.
Until Bowden answered and then they just slammed the phone down. I was confused at Mouch's response to it because obviously they found out Mouch is the one who added Bowden. But in the scene in the bar when Bowden's like, oh, I missed this. And he says, have a little faith. Was he saying that because he was saying Bowden's not just looking at your mistakes? Have faith that he's in this group chat for fun? Like what? Explain that scene to me. Because the scene confused me.
I think I just missed that or I just like ignored it because now like you're saying it. I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like,
I didn't know if it was like,
I don't know.
See, you removed everybody. Now it's fine. Or if it's, see, you should have left him in there because he wasn't looking at the bad stuff. I rewound it. And I still was like, I don't understand what he's saying here. But again, I can be slow. So
now I feel like I need to watch it again because I'm like not really sure either.
I mean, that's not a bad idea.
I'm going to have plenty of time this summer. So. Right.
And, in the midst of all this, the only other thing that is happening in this situation, which I think it's fair to say that Chicago fans are going to be pretty ticked off about across the freaking board, is that Joe, while he's doing this training thing that Severide recommended him for, we find out he's moved on from his training program and is now involved in an investigation, doesn't even tell Stella. And poor Joe, when he's like trying to convince her, no, you know this. And when the moment of realization that hit him that Severide never told him, Joe's response is, oh, no, I've got it wrong. I mixed up. Don't believe me. No, it's fine. It's all wrong. I've got it all wrong. If he's backpedaling that hard, that fast, it's a huge deal. And the way you put it was they're giving Severide the J treatment, which is what it feels like right now.
Yeah. And that was immediately, I was like, I have to this is what's happening. And I hate it because look, I'm not really that big of a Severide fan. I'm not even that big of a Stellaride fan. They're only okay for me. And it's going to piss me off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's unnecessary. Yeah. All you had to do in that scene was pretend that Stella knew.
Yep.
Stella knew as well. You can still have them separate if he decides not to come back. The distance is too hard.
Mm-hmm. Several other reasons would work.
Why does it have to be so dramatized? Like, I understand we're watching a drama, so I do get that. But we get drama other places that I'm not sure that you have to annihilate the character of the people that we like to watch. Yeah.
It's not the drama that we don't like. It's the destruction of a character.
Mm-hmm.
We want drama to come at our characters. We don't want our characters to be the jerks that we grow to hate.
And in this situation, we don't even know that Taylor Kinney's not returning.
Mm-hmm.
But now you've already put this little thing out there that makes him look terrible.
Yeah. And I think what they think is we're leaving his options open for him. So now if he decides not to come back, it's all good. He doesn't have to come back. We've set up another story. But what they're not thinking through is, yeah, you've let this open enough that he could come back, but now you're making us not want him to come back by doing this jerkish thing to his wife. So you can't, I get that they're trying to prepare and give Taylor Kinney all of his options to do what he feels is necessary for him in his own personal life, but you can do that without destroying a favorite character. He may not be your favorite, but across the board, Severide is the fan favorite on this show.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, we didn't need to do anything with Severide until we know what's happening. Just let us pretend that he's still off doing his thing. We don't know what kind of training this is or how long it's taken. Mm-hmm. There's no reason to do this, in my opinion. It's frustrating. It's really frustrating.
And so we have this scenario that wasn't resolved, but there's also Brett, who is, I mean, hers is a little bit better of a situation, obviously, but she's the one situation who it did not get fully resolved this week. But we all knew last week, this baby is not going away.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do like this idea, although this particular storyline feels a bit played out across the board on the different shows that I watch. We were just talking about this on the Grey's podcast, me and Eve. I mean, I feel like there's another potential for this storyline popping up there, and I'm like, can we just at least give it a new spin this time? Like, I don't know. I'm just kind of tired of them taking on I don't want to say tired of it, because I mean, Michaela being Kim and Adam's daughter is one of my favorite storylines that's ever happened on TV. So sometimes it's great, but like, we've also already done this a little bit with Gabby and what was the saying, the little boy, even though that didn't work out. Louis, yeah. But anyways, I mean, it makes sense. Like you said, we saw it coming. She can't stop thinking about this baby. I mean, she keeps going back to check, and given her background, I mean, you know, knowing that DCFS doesn't have necessarily a permanent home for this baby lined up, I mean, it's weighing on her. She doesn't care for it, and you know, she's worried about her.
The way she was talking to that DCFS worker, though, the DCFS worker had to keep saying, "No, I kind of take pride in my job and doing what I think is best," and that's obviously not what Brett's intentions are to say to her. But her point is, yes, well, you want to do right by this baby. I love this baby. And I don't it goes beyond wanting to do right by her. I want to give her everything.
Yeah. Which I mean, and I know, so she's, you know, decides she wants to adopt. I don't know. The one good part of this storyline is Dylan does not.
I knew you were going to love that.
So.
Yeah, he asked for some hard liquor when she announced it to him. And she didn't even, the fact that she didn't even feel that she needed to discuss this with him first, that she needed to run it by him first, that she needed to ask him, shows that this relationship to her it's not as permanent as they wanted us to kind of believe at first.
Right.
Otherwise her instinct would have been to go to him first.
Maybe. I feel like, again, on these shows, I feel like the women never go speak to the men they're involved with, like, before they make these decisions. Do they? Right? They just, whatever. But I mean, I did appreciate, like, the advice he gave her, and to go see the foster parents just to kind of see what's going on there, peace of mind, all of that. And she did, and I think she was happy until she found out that they have no intention of adopting the baby, which it sounds like they've done this many times. I mean, like, it, you know, they're not prepared to do that again. They give her some tips on how to fast track it, but I don't know if is that gonna work? Like, I mean, she's going back to this mom who, that would make me nervous too. Like, this girl had no intention of, like, taking care of this baby or showed any sort of maternal instincts at all, and you want her to take the baby back so that then you can, like, I don't know, that whole thing made me a little nervous, if I'm being honest.
I don't think she has to physically take the baby back. I think she has to say, I want my baby back, and then once she says that, she says, I want my parental rights back, then she can establish, but I want to give up guardianship to this person. I think it's more paper trail than anything else of, no, we have a document saying that she wants this, and so now she's got her parental rights back, she's given it up.
So that's how that, like, so in the meantime, like, I don't know, I'm just thinking about how slow paperwork could be, and like, this is really going to be like, do the foster parents keep the baby until then? Like,
I think they could.
Yeah.
But I think, and I don't think it would be this seamless in real life. It's almost like, I equate it in real life to be like when you do a green card marriage and you have to go through this interview process of, are you really together? Like, are you really taking this baby back? So it does, I feel like it's not as seamless, but I think for the show, they're going to make it seamless. I think that for the show, they're going to make it a little easier. Although going off of the preview, maybe it's not. I mean, we see that part where she looks wrecked. Brett looks wrecked and she's crying. I mean, we see a lot of her with baby, but she looks wrecked. And the other thing too, is that how's this going to look for her when she went out of state to go contact this mom, this 16-year-old teenage mom, to say, hey, it's me. Can you take your baby back? Like that? She's going to look like a crazy person.
The storyline's not hitting right for me.
No,
like,
at all.
I like the idea of it, and I like in the preview, like, seeing like Matt coming back. Like, I like how he's going to play into the storyline, because I think it's going to be really good for him, all of that. But I don't know, something just doesn't, it feels very rushed too.
Exactly.
Like we just like threw this in at the very last second.
Mm-hmm. It was brought in with an extreme overreaction on her part that they gave her that overreaction so that we as an audience could understand how important it was to her.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't make sense to us because it was never something she brought up before that very moment.
And
like
I don't think Brett ever even talked about wanting kids.
No.
Like,
yes, she's good with kids. Yes, maybe that was the point of the Dylan relationship, because he would go into hospitals with kids. Maybe that was the point of that relationship, because clearly this is playing into Matt Casey's return. And I think they could be doing one of two things. I think that because the whole preview was all Brett and Matt, that's all we saw in the preview. So I think they're either preparing for Brett's character to leave the show with Matt and this new baby, or they're preparing, they built this up to have a reason for Matt Casey to come back and stay and build a life with Brett and this new baby. I don't know which way it's going to go. I think either are possible. I just haven't heard anything one way or the other of Brett's character's leaving, if that actress is done.
Maybe this is a last minute storyline that happened after Taylor Kinney's leaving.
Could be, yeah.
As a way to try to get Jesse Spencer back, if just in case they can't get Taylor back.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe that's why it is rushed. Maybe it was rushed because it was something they threw together pretty quickly.
Because it seems very haphazard. It feels like, where did this story come from? Why is it suddenly all that we're seeing? Where did this come from?
Yeah.
And it's off.
Yeah.
I
won't complain about Matt Casey being back on my screen, because he is one of those characters that is left. And I think we talked about, you don't necessarily feel this way, but I have missed him.
Yeah, I haven't.
I
feel about him the way you do about Severide.
Yeah, I missed him. I want him back. So
I would like to have him back, but I don't miss him that he's gone.
Yeah.
The one thing I had a question about in the preview, when he's standing at the doorway and he says, "This is where we had our first kiss," and then it goes to black and white. So it's like they're trying to make you think it's a memory.
Mm-hmm.
But in that black and white, he's wearing the exact same thing as he is in color when he says, "This is where our first kiss was."
Oh, I did not notice that.
So I don't know that that's a memory. I think maybe that they shared that right there.
I hope so.
I mean,
steamy scene. I'd love it. Let's do it.
I mean, we're all of the basic general understanding, right? That Brett and Casey are ending up together, right?
Yes.
Like they have to. They've built this up.
Yeah. I mean, at this point they have to, whether it be in Chicago or it be somewhere else, like they're in game.
If it's not, that was really super lazy writing for the back half of the season.
Really mean.
Yeah.
I mean, like lazy, whatever. Like that was mean if you're not going to make it happen at some point. Like
it's true. Really mean.
I won't accept it.
Well, that's next week, and it's going to be a Matt Casey heavy episode. And as much as Severide across the board is a fan favorite, so was Matt Casey. I mean, we're just the anomalies who feel the opposite about these characters that the rest of the fandom does, but they're still huge fan favorites. So I think having him come back is a huge deal. And I think we've also realized this week that these episodes are not going to be connected at all in the finale.
I just realized, Eve has requested to be on our finale episode. It's because of Matt Casey, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
It just clicked.
That's why.
I was like, why? I mean, not that we would love to have her, but like, I was like, why is she all of a sudden like, it's because Casey, because she misses him like I do.
Well, I think she might miss him more than you do.
Yeah, he's her favorite. Like, which, I mean, I think he's her
Taylor Kitsch. Oh yeah. I was just thinking like
you're Taylor Kitsch. No, I do think he's her Ruzek for the Chicago world.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been on there in a year.
Ruzek is also her Ruzek. So that may happen. She may want to watch his heavy episode.
No, Ruzek is a Ruzek for her, but he's not the same as Ruzek is for you. To her.
I don't know. It might be close.
But if she had to choose between Matt Casey and Ruzek, I think it'd be an easy pick of Matt Casey for her.
We should ask her.
We'll have to next week.
I'm gonna text. Yeah, I'm gonna text her right now. So I talked to Eve. And I said, question, Ruzek or Casey? She said Ruzek. She said, I thought you were about to ask me a hard question.
Wow.
She said Casey is or was her favorite fire guy, but she likes Ruzek better overall. So
I did not know
she and
that.
I agree basically on that.
Wow.
Yeah. See, I told you Ruzek is everyone's Ruzek. Like
that's true. It's his personality
and his face and everything.
No, I know, but his personality
body.
makes it like when I first saw him, the very first episode ever of PD, I was like, this is who Jeanette's obsessed with? What? But then he opened his mouth and I was like, Oh,
His
okay,
voice,
I get it.
we could do a whole episode about what I love about Adam Ruzek.
For me, it's his personality that makes him so attractive. He's very passionate. He's very kind. He's sarcastic and he's goofy. My favorite Ruzek scene ever happens to be with Al. When Al is typing out a letter on a typewriter and Adam's like, "What is that?" And then Al pulls out the Rolodex, like, "What is that?"
I think I'm gonna have to over the summer. I think I'm gonna have to watch some old episodes because there's absolutely no way I can go till January without seeing these people's faces. There's no way.
I was reading something where they said that I don't know if it was about the writer's strike or if it just happened to be on there, but they said that they hoped that it would just be a short time and they would be back in the fall. But
ABC has already basically said for half their shows that it will be probably January.
Yeah, I saw that.
Grey's Anatomy, Will Trent, Station 19, all of those are a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I saw that. So
they're gonna get short seasons.
Well, yeah, I just hope. Please don't do another Friday Night Lights thing where you just get rid of people. Like, I get people are going to have other projects, but there's a writer's strike across the writer. It's not just like some writers. It's the Writers Guild of America is on strike. So these actors can't have other projects they're going to jump into. Don't let them leave.
Right. I wonder how that works. Like, I don't know. Do they get paid? Like, I don't know.
Well, I know in Chicago specifically, the writers were protesting at the studios so that production on anything had to be halted on projects that were already written. So they're striking in places where filming is taking place, so they cannot continue to film. At least that's how it's working in Chicago specifically.
Mm-hmm. I mean, good for them, I guess. I mean, give them what they need here.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, they deserve wages. They deserve to. And like, I was watching an interview with Shonda about Queen Charlotte. It was a Today interview, whatever, but they had asked her if she was on strike. And she said, I am on strike because I'm a writer and I'm joining with them. But for her, it's not that she doesn't need a raise. She already makes well above what is necessary for anybody. Yes. But she had said that it's not about how much she makes, how much of a raise she gets. It's about those people who are trying to make a living wage and about getting them their living wage and work getting paid according to what they do. It's a lot of work to write a TV show. It's a lot of work to write a movie. There's a lot that goes into it. And almost none of the recognition goes towards the writers. It's all, great acting, great directing, great. Yeah, but what about the person who came up with the story? So we would have nothing. They aren't paid accordingly.
Yeah, I mean, the actors can't act. The directors can't direct anything without a script. So I mean, they're definitely square one and they deserve it. So
exactly. And maybe that's why we're getting storylines that are a little mean, because the writers knew they were going to go on strike. So they're like, let's jack them up.
That's not fair to us. It's not our fault. Okay.
We like you guys.
I would pay you if I could. I just don't have
punish us.
Please.
On that note of punishing, let's go into Med.
Oh gosh. This was probably my favorite episode of the week though. Like I think Med was the strongest episode, which isn't always the case, but I think this one was a lot of setting up for probably some good stuff happening, next week. I think our initial drama, same as it has been for months, that it's Jack Dayton and 2.0 drama, like it has been. One great thing is I believe Will and Grace are done.
I think they're toying with us a little bit.
No, I think they're done. I think Will actually, because he actually said the words.
That's right.
He said this is not going to work. And I screamed at my TV. I've been saying this all along. Okay. It's not going to work. But what I felt was mean about this episode and the Will stuff, he's sitting there, he's looking at that picture, like a drawing, cute little like drawing of Dr. Halstead. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, who drew that? Like some kid, like in the hospital, like whatever. He's all smiles, like absolutely loving this photo he's gotten. And then it gets mentioned that it's from Owen. And as soon as he said Owen, Grace didn't even have to say Natalie Manning's son. I was like, Owen? That's from Owen? So they're still in touch.
Ugh.
Which makes me, I don't know how I feel about it, because I feel like
I know how I feel about it.
No. We've mentioned Natalie too many times for it to be nothing, I think.
Unless again, the writers are like, I'm gonna get you.
Well, if that's the case, that one's really mean, and I am not happy about it now. But okay, I'm gonna send you. Okay, like I actually heard this on the other Chicago podcast, okay, that I was listening to, okay, and they don't know that it's true. They also are like, there's nothing to confirm this, but apparently, like, Rotten Tomatoes, I think that's what she said, will sometimes like list cast of episodes and stuff. They're not always correct. It could definitely be wrong, but in the finale episode, Torrey DeVito is listed, and so is the actor that played Owen at one time.
Boo.
Now, I would love that if Natalie Manning is coming back to Chicago.
I would like it if Natalie Manning was a tolerable human being.
The other problem is, though, what if Will leaves to go be with her instead?
He will not.
He better not, right?
There's no way. If he does, Med is going to suffer too much.
I mean...
And not that... Now, that sounds bad to the rest of the cast. Chicago Med has a great cast. But Will and... Because it sounds like Maggie's might be leaving too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Will has been there from the beginning, consistent from the beginning, there from the beginning. He's a pivotal part in every episode. There hasn't been an episode he missed.
I think he's the main character of the show.
He is. So if he leaves, it's going to suffer, I think. And that's not, again, that's not a knock on anybody else, but we haven't known Crockett as long. Sharon doesn't have as big of a role because she's not a doctor. Maggie is sick, so we'd give her grace if she left and would understand it. But if Will left, it would just be like, well, why?
Yeah.
Why keep watching?
I don't know. I just felt, I don't know what to think. But I mean, like you've been saying about the writer's strike, are we setting up clear exits for lots of people just in case?
I think they are. Because, I mean, we saw, and again, it's because the last writer's strike, we saw so many characters that, and these writers aren't saying, we don't want to work in your show anymore. These writers do want to come back and finish these shows. They want to take part in the shows that are coming back that have been renewed by the networks. They want to continue it. They just want to be paid more. So, but the problem is in the last writer's strike, when characters just disappeared without warning, their shows truly suffered, and they were canceled or they had shortened lifespan because the writing suddenly took a dive because they couldn't accommodate characters leaving. So I do think that they were protecting their job and protecting their shows by allowing this to be set up this way. So they had a ready explanation for why someone wouldn't return.
Yeah.
But with Natalie, like, I would like her if she wasn't so, I don't even know the word, but she was just so self-important, and she could do no wrong, but everyone else did wrong. And that's what I didn't like about her. Because even when Will would do stuff like she did, she would get mad at him for it, but she would do stupid things all the time. The only difference was she was usually wrong when she did the stupid thing and had to backtrack and apologize and make it right. Will did things that were wrong, but it ended up right because that's why he did the wrong thing, was to do the right. So that's why I didn't like her character. If she could be, maybe she's learned a lot since she's been away. Because I like the actress a lot, but I just didn't like her personality on Chicago Med at all. I know that I'm the minority there, but I did not like her personality.
Well, because I can't even because behind Kim Burgess, Natalie Manning is my favorite female character.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, there's so many others above Natalie for me.
I love Natalie.
Maggie's not above Natalie?
No.
Platt's not above Natalie?
No, because I consider them secondary characters. Because they don't usually have full-on major storylines.
Maggie did.
Not much, really. I mean, maybe during that one time, and I just wasn't really into that much.
Well, that's because you didn't like her husband.
I did at the time. I mean, but I don't know. It still felt, I don't know. I mean, Violet might be above. They're because I like Violet a lot too.
Well, I'd support Natalie coming back if she learned a lot. Maybe being a mother and being away helped her to get some perspective, and I wouldn't mind her coming back if that's the case.
And I want these shows to go on and on and on forever. I never say that about a show. I'm usually very particular about I want you to be done before you're stale or whatever. But in the Chicago lane, I want them to go on forever. But I would love for Manstead to be Endgame.
That would
somehow.
Be nice. I think
I think she is the one. I think it is clear to me. I don't know how you're ever going to write a storyline now, after we've talked about her too many times, that someone else takes the place of the love of his life. I don't know how you get there.
A lot recently, because this is the first time I remember hearing her.
No, Hannah brought her up to him, and then I feel like there's been somebody else brought it up, maybe Maggie. There's been 3 episodes in the last half of the season where we have mentioned Natalie's name.
I've just completely blocked that out.
Well, I mean, I hear it and I'm like, ooh, Natalie, is she coming back?
I have the exact opposite reaction.
Because I was distraught when she left, even though I knew it was coming. I was so upset. Oh, I was so upset. Glad. And the thing is that, like,
this is the most opposite we've ever been on a character.
That, like, both like Nick and Tori are very much like Team Manstead. Yeah. Like Tori says in interviews all the time that she hated her exit only because she felt like she needed more time. Like her and Will needed a better scene because it was not like, they agree that they should be like, and I think it's because they're just really good friends or whatever. So they've always been like, you know, for each other being in game here.
Was her exit a case of the Tori wanted to leave, or was this a case where the writers are like, all right, we're going to write your character out?
Now that I'm not sure. It seemed abrupt either way. I remember her exit was just like, I knew she was leaving because, I mean, obviously I knew she wasn't on currently, but it still felt like, oh, wow, okay, she's leaving right now. Like it felt really quick. So I'm actually not sure.
Well, I would imagine it was her, because the Chicago world, it kind of feels like if it's the actor's decision to leave and never come back, they murder you.
Yeah.
And if
I think hers was a good exit though.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I wonder if it was more like, okay, we're just gonna, you want to back off? We want you back, so we're gonna leave this open-ended.
Yeah. So I don't know. But who knows? Maybe foreshadowing. We'll see. We'll see. But I think kind of back to the storyline. I got off on my little tangent here. So I am loving that we are finally having some, like, after all these years, some like Crockett Will like interactions, almost friendship like scenes. In this scene, you know, I mean, Crockett's still worried about this, you know, the surgery with Richard and what happened. And I mean, it's Will that he, like, you know, confides
Will was a part of that with him.
Yeah. Yeah. And he, you know, expresses his concern. I think that's Will's like, well, you know, I mean, I think he's the one that sent Crockett to Grace to get the data, correct? Like, you know, if you want to know what happened.
He said he was on his way to go get it.
Okay, that's what it was. Okay. But Grace, and of course, I mean, I guess we didn't talk completely about like the discussion that Will and Grace had, but like she talking about Jack Dayton, he's trying to explain to her, like, you know, we're not saying that Jack's like hasn't been a good guy to you in the past, but he does not have Ned's best interest at heart. And that's just something. And I think she's really completely in the dark at that moment. But I think this going to look for this data and realizing it's not there kind of is starting. I mean, she's starting to get a light here, like, wait a minute, why is it not there? Because even she said this has never happened before. Yeah. Like,
and even didn't Crockett say check the backup data? And she said, I did that too, and it's not there either.
Yeah. Yeah. And we find out from Jack that it's because he's pulled it because he's trying to protect Crockett, though, because this was Crockett's fault.
There was no way. No.
And here's where I do, and this is me wanting to like give someone the benefit of the doubt, but I don't think so, because we know as viewers that the glitch in the system is what added, like, I mean, what caused it to mess up, and that's where that extra ablation or whatever was added. That he didn't need to do whatever he needed to do. My medical terminology is wonderful. They didn't need to do whatever he was doing to get rid of those. Did Jack know that? I mean, he would have had he looked at the old CT, but did he? I mean, I guess we don't know that for sure, do we?
I think no, it wasn't said for sure, but I think we can safely assume that yes, because A, he just moved it to for profit. B, he 2.0, like we discussed last week, that is the only tech that they currently have that is a moneymaker. And I think the reason why he spurred them out was like, hey, surgery is going to be performed on me. I think he was doing that not because I want to prove to the world how great 2.0 is. I think he was doing that because if this got out, that there was a death in there, he could say, well, yeah, that may have been, but why would I put myself in there if I didn't believe 2.0 could do it? So I think that he was preparing ahead of time. I think the reason he was late is because he was deleting the data when he was late, and that he decided that last minute. No, I mean, not even Grace knew that he was going to have the surgery. It was a complete spur of the moment thing, and I think he was preparing for in case this got out. But he made it seem to Crockett like, I'm doing this because I want you to know how much I trust you as a surgeon. No, you're not. He's never been. All the times that Crockett has tried to approach him about something, Jack has dismissed him completely. This is not about Crockett. This is about him trying to protect his asset, and his asset is 2.0, not Crockett.
Yeah.
That's my opinion anyway.
I just think
Grace
it's brave.
Realize that too.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's brave that if Jack knows that it was 2.0 that made a clear mistake, to put himself, I don't know. It's just,
I think that's his ego, because I think he thinks he fixed. I think that while he was deleting the data, I think he was working on 2.0 and he believes he fixed the problem. So now he's going to preemptively say, well, no, I knew and I trusted.
Yeah.
But I think I am glad in big trouble next week.
Yeah. And I think Grace is coming around in that way. But I think it was even after all of that Will still told her, like, this won't work, correct? I'm not
no, it was when she first came into the room and he was looking at the picture. It was after he told her then in the beginning of the episode, it's not going to work with us. And then afterwards he brought her the thing. And that's when he said, Jack's not who you think he is. Here's the data. He deleted it.
Oh, I needed that to be after that. So I just knew for sure there was no reconciliation happening.
No, it was first. But I think what I like about, and again, I think that they will, I don't think there will be a reconciliation because there isn't a lot of chemistry there. And I think they noticed that. Yeah. But what I like about Grace's character is she follows the evidence, even if it leads her to a conclusion that is not good for her, that she does not like. And that's what she did here. She recognized, okay, there's something off. And she's, because she's scientifically minded, she works at the problem until she finds the reason or the answer. Right. And she did that this week. She is the one who discovered, no, Jack didn't just delete this. Jack deleted something 2.0 did wrong. And she's the one who was the whistleblower on that.
Yeah.
Although just to Will and Crockett, which I was so upset that Crockett started to believe that he did something wrong.
I know.
Because I could just see him retreating, and we've watched him retreat further and further into himself this entire time. And Jack is making him be dependent on 2.0 now. That's what Jack is trying to do with Crockett, because he wants Crockett's his best surgeon. Crockett knows 2.0 better than anybody else. So if Jack can get Crockett to stay and be dependent on 2.0, then he knows he's guaranteed moneymakers, safe in all areas.
Yeah.
Crockett's going to be ticked off though.
Oh, absolutely.
I cannot wait for that.
I can't wait. It's going to be good for sure.
Speaking of characters coming back, it was really nice to see Sam, because I love Dr. Sam, and it was a nice surprise to see him on there. I didn't even know he was going to come on. And I know his wife from a different show, so I forgot for a minute.
Oh yeah.
What her connection was to Matt. I'm like, whose wife is she? It was a show that was canceled after one season. I was ticked off because it left on a cliffhanger, and then they canceled it. I'm like, I'll have to look up what it was. I don't remember, but it was years ago. But I forgot who her connection was. So I wasn't even expecting Sam to come in the room. And then he came in the room and I was very excited. I love Dr. Sam.
I do too. Actually, I like him a lot.
Every time he's on the screen, I love his personality.
Yeah. And this storyline here, like, I had to laugh. I had to tell my husband about it because when they said, that she doesn't have a UTI, that she in fact is pregnant. And he responded with, no, I had a vasectomy 7 years ago. My husband too had a vasectomy almost 7 years ago. Like a month away from being 7 years ago. And I was thinking, oh my God, are you kidding me? I know that it can happen, but 7 years, it can happen.
Well, like Dr. Sam said, usually if there's a problem, it happens in the first year or two. This was an anomaly.
But no one in that room looked super shocked. I mean,
except for him.
He did, but I mean, Hannah didn't. Even after the initial shock, it wasn't like he wasn't like, no, this can't happen. He clearly knew it can happen. So I'm like, oh. I feel like there should be follow-up appointments. Every few years, you should have to follow up with your urologist just to make sure there's nothing happening.
I think what saves us from that is our age, because it's much harder when women get older as opposed to when men get older.
I know, but it's still.
But that's a mother's life. And so I get her excitement too, because she was obviously more excited. And I love that Dr. Abrams, what he said was, I'm going to have to sue him. He told me that he's never had an unsatisfied customer. And she said, that's your response to this? And that was when Hannah was like, oh, I'm going to duck out.
Actually, I was a little bit proud of his response, because my husband would have probably looked at me and been like, is there anything you need to tell me?
That's where I thought it was going for a minute.
No, I'm like, if I ended up pregnant, I'd be getting a divorce, because there's no way I'd be able to convince him without a paternity test that I'm not cheating.
Exactly.
Because it's been 7 years. Oh, but I mean, that didn't even cross their mind, and it
No,
probably,
either one of them.
no. And
I mean,
honestly,
obviously
like,
not hers, but
they're pretty far along, right? Because that ultrasound looked clear like a baby.
see, here's my problem with TV pregnancies.
Yeah.
The ultrasound, it looked like a well-developed baby. Her
Yeah.
stomach didn't even have a tiny little pop.
Well, the thing is, though, I've had people I've known people like that.
Washboard thin?
Yeah, actually.
When the baby's that far, there has to be even a
Yeah.
little pouch, like maybe not a belly, but a little something there. If there's
No, ma'am.
another human being growing inside, I can't imagine that. I hate
I'm
it.
telling you, I knew somebody, and it was because they were somebody who like was really fit and worked out a lot.
That's dumb.
And it makes me think, because I mean, she obviously looks really great too, or
Yes.
whatever. So I think, I don't know, because because we also were able to tell what the gender was already.
Mhm.
So the baby had
She's at least 18 weeks, at least.
I mean, I would say 16 to 18 at least, because I mean, a doctor like Hannah might be able to, if the baby, especially if it being a boy, if he clearly showed himself, you would be able to tell probably by 16 weeks. But no, I mean, no earlier than that, because I don't even think that stuff develops before that to be able to tell. Like you can tell with like blood tests to see the chromosomes and stuff, but.
And they said they saw it on the ultrasound.
Yeah. So I mean,
they saw an image
she
of
had
it.
to be 16, and the baby, the ultrasound picture, in my opinion, looked about 18
Yeah,
weeks
a
or so.
very developed baby.
Yes. So.
And I mean, the surgery she had to perform when Sam was in that room, like I felt Sam's nervousness. And
I know
Hannah was smart enough to know this is going to be a problem, but I'm going to let you sit there for a minute. And I love that Hannah stuck to her guns and kicked him out. Because he's been there longer than her. He's been a doctor longer than her. He is not afraid to speak his mind and push you back. But she held her ground and she kicked him out.
I think she is one of my favorite characters that has ever been on Med for those reasons. That she knows she is good at her job and she is confident in herself, that she doesn't let anyone like take that confidence from her. So I was proud of her too, because Sam can be intimidating. Like I feel like if I was up against him, I would fold so quickly. Like there's no way.
Especially when he threw "I'm her medical proxy" in her face, like, he's not terribly wrong. But thankfully, she knew what's his wife's name?
Michelle.
That's right. Yeah. She knew, Hannah knew what Michelle wanted, because obviously she talked to Michelle beforehand, and she knew that she wanted to save the baby at all costs, and this is what it required.
Yeah.
And it was so nice to see Sam, because I mean, Sam is the same way as Hannah is. He's very confident in what he does. He knows he's good at his job.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to see him be vulnerable was and he's not vulnerable when it comes to anybody else except for his wife. And I love that. That's the kind of relationship that everybody wants with their spouse.
And I love it. Made me think back, because one of the episode where they think he's dead and we need Michelle is one of my favorite episodes. Because they think that she's a gold digger, and turns out no, she's got more money than I mean, like he does. So I love that, because it definitely would appear that way on the outside looking in. I mean, she's a young, beautiful woman. Not that he's not a handsome man, but he's much older than her. Yeah. And I mean, it's just whatever. But yeah, so I mean, I like that, to see them so in love, and to hear like. And I mean, Yellow, you said seeing him be vulnerable, because that's something we've never seen from him. Ever, not even an inkling of it. Like, I mean, we've seen him be,
softer around Michelle.
Yes, but never like vulnerable. And I think it was cool. And even the little onesie at the end, when we did find out, that it was a boy, and that I was like, that's so cute.
I love how he said it, when she's like, what if it's a girl? It's not.
It's not. And then it was like, oh, and then he realized, oh, wait, I wasn't supposed to.
See,
when he wasn't upset
when he said that, I thought he was saying, no, I'm willing it not to be a girl, is where I thought he was going.
Too. Yeah.
Because that's just his personality, that things are the way I say they are.
Yeah.
No,
that's what I thought at first too. Yeah. It was good. It was a good scene.
But I like what that brought out in Hannah too, because watching him be vulnerable and discuss his fears over being a parent, and he's self-aware enough that he can say, I struggle being a good parent and a good spouse at the same time. It forces Hannah to look at how far she's come. Because I think in a lot of ways, Hannah still views herself as this addict, because you kind of have to, in order to stay in recovery. You have to remind yourself, I'm an addict. And if you say that to yourself so often, you begin to forget the headway you make. You forget that you're actually making strides and you're doing good things, because you're so focused on, I can't let myself slip. I have to remind myself I'm an addict. So it allowed her to kind of look at herself and be like, hey, I have come a long way.
Yeah. And I mean and we saw that a lot in that conversation with Nellie, which happy to see Nellie back because I love her and I'm like, can she be on more episodes, please? Please.
I'm going to pause. Remind me who Nellie is.
Dr. Cuevas.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah, yes. Sorry.
Dr. Cuevas, last week, we brought her up last week and we said, where is she? Bring her back for Sean. And now we see her in the mix. So I think, are we onto something? Are we just really brilliant people? Is that really what it is?
Maybe. Yeah. Or just really intuitive, I think. Yeah. We're good. No, but I like seeing her and I liked her talking about her dating apps. Of course, in my head the whole time, like, of course, like I said, I wanted her to get, well, both these women, they're talking about dating. And both of them, I'm like, Dr. Will Halstead is like right there for both of you all. Like whoever wants him could go snatch him up. Like he would be a great catch for anyone. But in that conversation, is where Hannah was able to realize like, this is the longest I've been sober.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that like you said, I mean, I think she does view herself as this broken like person, this addict that just can't let herself live other than just trying to do that. And so I like that she's having that realization now. I'm not sure I like where it's going to take us. Are we really doing this? Are her and Dean really going to be a couple? Because they are pushing it. He is old enough to be her father. Or at least the actor and actress are. He is like, I looked it up. He is in his 60s. He is my mom's age. She is just a little bit younger than me.
Yeah, he was an adult when I was in elementary school and watching Wings.
Yes.
And Hannah, Jess, was it Jess? It's Jessie.
Jessie. Yeah, Jessie.
She, I don't think was born when I was in elementary school. So
I think I looked her up. She's in her mid-30s. So she's just a few years younger than us.
Well, I was in kindergarten when she was born then.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's in his early 60s. He's my mom's age.
He absolutely is.
Yeah.
And I think,
no judgment. Okay. That's fine. Like when we're all adults, 20 years age difference probably isn't that severe. It's really not.
But it's not what we want for them.
I just don't think it fits. Although it just clicked in my head that we're coming off. Her realization is coming off.
I was getting
Michelle
ready to
and Sam.
Yeah.
That we love as a couple.
But we love them because they work. Dean and Hannah, they work as friends, as a romantic relationship that their entire friendship dynamic would completely alter. As friends, they work and make sense because it makes sense, but pushing it to something else is going to completely alter their relationship.
Here's my thing. I think she had never dated Will. I wouldn't have this issue because I view Will as like a love interest, like that I could be into. You know what I mean? Like I view this like he's someone I'm attracted to. If I lived in this world, I would be interested in him. Whereas Steven Weber, Dean Archer, great guy, handsome man. I view him as a fatherly type figure. So it's hard, but Michelle, I have no connection to her. So her with Sam, I don't know. I think it's that connection that she dated someone younger that was her age appropriate. Hannah did. And then that the next relationship will be someone who has such a large age gap that it is hard for me to get my mind wrapped around.
I think it's also hard.
If for Will, it would just be, okay, she just likes older men and I'd accept it and it'd be fine. And I don't know that I'd have a problem with it because the chemistry is there. I'm not going to say it's not because it is.
But I think it's more like father, daughter. And I think part of that is because Dean has sort of mentored her in a lot of ways. And I think that's what my issue is with it, is that no, you don't. He's like, I don't see like a dad would teach his kid. Like, no, that's weird. Don't date someone who's going to do that.
And then you throw in like the Sean thing.
I really think that's where they're going to head with it. I do. Because I think that, especially with what we see at the end of this episode, that Sean is missing, I really do think that Hannah is going to be a big part of his recovery in the way that Will was for her. And I think that while they won't be together right away, I think that she's going to be the only one who's going to be able to have pull and sway over Sean to get him to understand what has to happen. And of course, we don't know that Sean is missing because he had an OD, but I think that's where they're trying to get us to think.
I think he did.
I mean, they could be trying to surprise us, but
he may not have, but I do think at the very least he is
spiraling,
preparing to use again. I'm
Mhm.
hoping that Hannah and Dean are probably not Dean, because we see him like, I don't know. I don't think it'll be Dean just the way the preview
I think
plays
it'll be
out.
Hannah.
I hope that it's Hannah that is able to reach him before he's a, because otherwise, if he uses, does that affect like his giving of the kidney and stuff
Mhm.
too?
Yep.
Yeah.
You have to be clean.
So that's gonna be a lot. But I
But
don't know.
I
I'm
think
still holding out
I
hope
think
that
that's the
that's
direction
real.
they're going to go. I think they're going to
Yeah.
have Hannah be a key part of his recovery, and
Mhm.
in that, they will be together. In the
Yeah.
end, I think it'll be a long, just like with Will, we have to wait a very long time and for him to even end up with Grace. I mean, he went for a long time without being with somebody.
And it's got
Hannah's
some dry
relatively new.
spells.
Yeah,
Like-
Hannah's relatively new to the cast, so I think we're going to see a long time before she starts dating. But I think in the end, it will be Sean.
I think we need someone to date though. Like,
I know we do,
the show has zero,
but maybe not
romance.
the addicts.
No, Will and Natalie, his long lost love returning is what needs to
I
happen.
kind of even like Crockett and Hannah though. Like they had those moments, and then I liked Cuevas and
then-
Sean.
Well, like Dr. No, I'm still look, if Hannah can't have Will, then let's give Nellie Will, because like look,
I
she's
thought you
having
wanted
luck on her-
Natalie for Will.
Well, as long as Natalie doesn't take him away. I don't know what I want.
There
I
it
don't
is.
know what I want.
There it is, folks.
I don't want Grace. We know this.
Yes.
But no, I mean, I just think Nellie, like, I just love her character. I love like that we don't see her very often, but every time she is there, I'm absolutely drawn to her.
Agreed.
Like, even this week, I mean, I felt so sorry for her that she was like doubting herself and her abilities when they had like that David,
Daniel.
that patient, Daniel. No, David is his name.
It is David, because Daniel's Dr. Charles.
Yes, something. I think it's David, the
David
patient.
Sullivan.
We should know this. This is our husband's name. Both of our husband's name. We really should remember. Yeah.
That confused me for a minute, because it confused Dr. Charles too, obviously, because she was trying to say, well, I'm not comfortable going in there. I don't want to do this. And Dr. Charles was like, well, why though? And so he was clearly, I think that he had said it was her idea when they did and that was so sweet, because David was the one who was hearing voices.
Yes.
And like when they were talking about Michelle's thing and she was listening to her symptoms, I was like, that sounds like pregnancy, not UTI, and it was pregnancy. And with David, he's saying all these things, like, that sounds more like what you would say to yourself than what it would be of voices.
I was loving it, because in my head I was thinking, oh, sweetie, that's just regular anxiety that we all talk to each other. I have those conversations like with myself all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
And it on one level, it was really sad that voices had been such a part of him for so long that he couldn't differentiate. The only thing that was tripping me up was Dr. Charles was like, really? Huh? Like, dude, is it not his own voice? It was his reaction that was making me think I was wrong in that assumption that it was his own voice. But that's what it was. And so when watching Dr. Cuevas, because in the beginning, Dr. Cuevas was like, I can't be with him. I can't be alone with him. It's going to mess him up. But in the end, she was the one who could get through to him in such a real way that the kid was crying in his chair. Like, oh, I cried with him. I felt so bad for this sweet kid who was so desperate that no one would know what was wrong with him. And I think it's kind of foreshadowing Dr. Cuevas too. Like, she doesn't want anyone to see her flaws because she thinks that completely diminishes her ability to do anything. And it plays into Dr. Charles this week too, because with him and Liliana, like, she attacked him for that too. And he was like, wait, what is happening right now? Her
brother got in her head.
Yes.
And that's the thing. Oh, I felt kind of mixed a little bit on different things. Like at first when she was like, he's like, you're just going to bail him out. In my head, I'm thinking, no, it's a brother. I mean, I have a brother. I don't know. I feel like I would feel inclined to maybe not do it all the time, but if he was in a bind and he needed something, I don't know. I feel like I'd feel inclined to like do something. But just the part she attacked him over, like when he said, well, you just move in with me. And she's like, no, I don't want to, like, almost like he was trying to pity her. Like, no, I mean, I think he just didn't ask you because you were doing your own thing and he wasn't going to stand in the way of that. Not because he did. And who's to say that even if he did just ask you just simply because it was of necessity at the moment, doesn't mean it wouldn't work out.
Exactly.
I mean, Dr. Charles doesn't strike me as the type that would like ask something that he doesn't mean though. Exactly. You know, I mean, he's not going to do that. He would be willing to probably put you up somewhere and help you with financially. But he's asking you to come stay with him.
Yeah. And honestly, when she told him about buying the house, her reaction to his thoughts of, have you vetted this? Have you done this? And she flipped out on him. That would make me gun shy to ask you to move in with me too.
Yes.
I mean, she got really upset with him. So he decided to hold back. I actually thought he wanted to ask for them to move in with him. I was a little surprised he didn't, but given her reaction, it makes sense. And here, this is completely in her own head because Dr. Charles has never treated her like a charity case, not ever, not once. And I think she's starting to realize, and I think this is going to be Pavel's. We've been trying to figure out what is going to be his thing here, because something is going to be bad. I think this is it. I think she's realizing I can never fully give myself to Dr. Charles and be with Dr. Charles because I had to care for my brother. And I don't think this is the first time she's had to bail her brother out. He's clearly asleep on the couch because he got too drunk, and he has money problems because he's got a gambling addiction. Yeah. And she even said that he had a gambling problem. So this is not the first time she's had to bail him out. And I think the more she realizes how often she does that, contrasted with Dr. Charles, I think that she doesn't want to put him in a position where he's going to feel like he has to bail her brother out. So she doesn't want to live with him. And the best way to end something that you want to protect someone from is to end it. Yeah. And I think she's trying to push Charles away for that reason. Yeah. What do you think he was doing? He was up against, because when he left her apartment, Dr. Charles stood up against the wall, like he was calming himself down. Like, what do you think he was doing right there? What do you think was going through his head? Do you remember that scene?
Yeah, I do. I didn't really think much about it. I think he was just absolutely, because he got a little heated. I was like, and I mean, I don't blame him because he just couldn't believe that she would think that about him. But it was just definitely I think he was just calming himself. Okay. I don't know. What did you think?
I don't know. I felt like they were making too big of a deal about it for it to be trivial.
I mean, it definitely, I've never seen him lose his temper like he did. Well, I mean, not in I don't know.
Not to a significant other.
No, it did. It felt really, but I mean, it felt real. I mean, that he was obviously, just couldn't believe she said that, but I don't know.
And I think for him too, we've been picking up on his skepticism of Pavel for weeks. Yes. And I think now he's like, okay, so this has got to be done now. This guy is completely destroying her. Yeah. And I think her not seeing that upset him too.
Yeah. And I think, but I don't know that there's anything he can do. What can you do about it? You can't force her to see it. And I mean, I don't know.
You can't. So. But I do hope that, because like we've talked about every week, Med has so many different storylines. They can only choose one, and it's a half a second about it. So I do think that they should continue this next week.
Hopefully.
Maybe they won't wrap it up because I think they're leaving everything open-ended. Yeah. But next week looks like what we've been predicting for the finale.
Will storming into Sharon's office and just explaining how 2.0 can't be used for profit, basically saying I mean, I don't know what words he used, but basically telling her it's dangerous, that it can't be trusted to do this. I was like, yes, there we go. And then I think Crockett's going to speak to the public. I think he's going to just say it. Do you? Yeah. He's just going to flat out tell them that stuff, which makes me a little nervous because that is Jack is still in charge of the hospital, and that could be career suicide for Crockett there. I don't know.
But the benefit there is that the public will turn on Jack.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because no one's going to want to trust that machine. Yeah. So all of his for-profit dreams, he's going to lose boatloads of money, and he's going to have to reevaluate. So.
Yeah, true.
But I do think that Crockett, Jack's pivotal move, his wrong move, was trying to blame Crockett for the machine's error. And I think that's going to set Crockett off. And now Crockett's going to be like, no, you have to be stopped no matter the cost.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I don't know how you felt about this, but in the preview where it's showing one word at a time, but it started with the word will.
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to be a will heavy episode. Even though every time I watch the preview, I know that's part of the bigger question, but just the fact that will showed up on the screen first. That's all I could think.
I definitely thought that too. I was like, oh, wait, what? Will? No, just convenient timing. The Dean collapsing though, because I'm like, at what point is the finale taking place? Is it directly after this, or are we going to have how much time is in between? I'm trying to figure out, I guess to stay in line with Fire, it's gonna have to be a little bit of time in between because we got to get Matt Casey back there.
Yeah.
But I'm like, so does that mean the problem is the longer Sean is gone,
I know,
the more likely that he's using.
But maybe maybe this takes place after they found him and they realize you are too unstable and we can't use your kidney. So Dean is still waiting.
Maybe. I don't know. That part made me a little nervous because I'm like, okay, well, where is Sean then? Like,
yeah. Or maybe it's after the surgery and Dean didn't react well or went back to work too soon or something.
Maybe. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. But
either way, I think the kidney thing is going to be part of the cliffhanger.
I think so too.
I think the Archer life is going to hang in the balance.
The Archers are going to be part of the cliffhanger somehow, whether it be Dean collapses and then at the same time Hannah is finding Sean about ready to use.
Maybe, yeah.
It might be.
I'm going to be mad if that's where they end it with it. I am not going to enjoy that.
I'm just saying.
Oh, Dick Wolf.
Because I don't know what else. Because I don't feel like you have time to fully flesh out that storyline in an episode.
No. And I think that was their plan. That was mean. It was very mean.
As long as, look, I thought we were going to have them like going through the surgery and somebody coding at the end of like the season finale. Like this is where I originally thought. So
I mean, that could still be it.
It could be. And we don't know which Archer it is that is coded.
Exactly. Because maybe if this is maybe Dean would have been like, I know I told you I'd take your kidney, but you disappeared. I can't do this now. You're too unstable. But then maybe he collapses and like, okay, well, Sean wants to do this. We need to do it. And then he codes. Not that I'm encouraging that storyline, but
there's no good options here.
I think they've picked up on the fact that Sean is an asset to the show. So he's fair game to use in the cliffhanger.
Well, they listen to our show and we told you all that he's an asset. So
clearly we're the problem. Sorry, people.
Stop talking. My bad.
So that's it for Chicago this week. But next week is the finale for season 11, 10, and 8 for our shows. And I said that in the wrong order though, 10, 11, and 8. So they're all going to be insane next week. This week you get our final Grey's Anatomy Station 19 podcast for the season. We just had the finales last week, so that's coming at you on Wednesday. The 911 finales you should have already seen on Sunday. And then this one will have one more of these out next week, Tuesday. And then we're going to take about a week break, and then we're going to plug into Cruel Summer Netflix shows. So all fun things coming at you in the summer. If you do not watch Cruel Summer, go ahead and check out our Cruel Summer Facebook group. It's, what do we rename it? Cruel Summer...
Cruel Summer Family Fan Club.
Okay, there it is. It used to be Turner Family Fan Club because it was about a different family the last time it was on.
They changed it on us. Yeah,
they did. So check out that group and start reading some of the things about there. We're going to be posting some previews and any snippets we get from the show as they prepare to release it on June 4th. And we're going to start diving into those episodes. We'll do weekly recaps on those, and that show is proven to be really intense. So you really want to get on those recaps. Also join our One Chicago Family Fan Club group. It's One Chicago Family Fan Club. Even though they're about to take a summer break and who knows how long of a writing strike hiatus, we still have things in there. We still want to get you some interviews for them. And if we do get interviews with the cast members, we'll put it in that group and we'll ask you to ask us questions for them. So lots of fun things to go on around there. Lots of fun things coming at you. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel. That is the best way for us to make sure that we can get you interviews, is to show that we have a big listener base that wants to hear interviews. So if you want to hear interviews, if you want to hear from your favorite characters of these shows, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel and to our Podbean accounts or wherever you listen to our podcast on whatever platform. Subscribe to it and give us some good ratings. Give us feedback. If you want to hear something different than what we're doing, let us know. We don't know until you tell us. We're fans putting this out for other fans because this is what we wanted to hear. So if you want something different, let us know. Can't guarantee we'll change it, but we'll at least listen to you a little bit. Something. Yeah. So on that note, we will see you next Tuesday. Bye, guys.
Bye. Loving our content? Subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to share our podcast with your family and friends. We want to continue the conversation with you. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok under Fandom Family Chats, or one of our ever-growing Facebook groups by searching Family Fan Club. We've also launched a website, Family Fan Club 2021 at Wixsite.com. You can email us there and keep checking it for announcements and merch coming soon. And of course, be sure to tune in every week for new episodes discussing all your favorite shows.